Welcome, NBA fans, to NBA Weekly Chat number 4. This is our 4th week in a row of doing this NBA Weekly Chat. Here with me today is my good friend Ben Parker. Ben Parker is from SportsKings.com and BillStreetBears.com. Ben, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing good. Glad to be here.
Awesome, man. It's just me and you today. We're a little bit understaffed, and this is going to be a fun show because there's a lot to discuss, and I'm really excited. I'm Brandon Condron, by the way, host of Brandon Condron TV, where you can find Phoenix Suns videos, NBA Weekly Chat videos, and just all sorts of videos and all sorts of fun. So, Ben, really the news really this week has been, besides Klay Thompson's 37-point quarter, was the All-Star reserves were announced. And really, we could discuss both All-Star reserves and All-Star snubs all in one. But let me read you first the Eastern Conference reserves, starting first off with Chris Bosh, Jimmy Butler, Al Horford, Kyrie Irving, Paul Millsap, Jeff Teague, and Dwayne Wade. For the Western Conference, LaMarcus Aldridge, DeMarcus Cousins, who is filling in for Kobe Bryant, Tim Duncan, Kevin Durant, James Harden, Chris Paul, Klay Thompson, and Russell Westbrook. Ben, what were your initial thoughts on the All-Star reserves? Were you happy? Do you like it?
I mean, the only real one that I really questioned was the Tim Duncan one. Just looking at his numbers, 14 points, 10 rebounds a game. I had no idea what made the coaches decide that he was more worthy of an All-Star bid than DeMarcus Cousins, who's been averaging 24 and 12. And you know, these All-Star awards are supposed to be about who's played best in the season. It's not supposed to be a lifetime achievement award. And the only exceptions for lifetime achievements are when the fans vote players in. Some guys just get voted in by the fans, like Kobe Bryant, which is somewhat of a lifetime achievement. So I get that. I respect the fan vote, and I'm fine with that being a part of the system. But I expect the coaches to put the best players into the All-Star game that they can choose. And I didn't feel like Tim Duncan was really deserving of it. But I was glad that DeMarcus Cousins got in because he absolutely deserved it. But to me, Tim Duncan should not be in this All-Star game, and it should be either Damian Lillard or it should be Monte Ellis. One of those two guys, in my opinion, should be replacing Tim Duncan in this All-Star game. But outside of that, I don't really have any serious complaints.
Yeah, that's funny. I honestly wouldn't have thought of Monte Ellis, although I've been following Monte Ellis's career for a while now. I really like Monte Ellis. Yeah, I mean, if you guys can see by the headline there, Lillard snubbed. That is absolutely ridiculous, and he's furious. Now, I love how you said lifetime award. That was great. Kobe Bryant. Now, one of the reserves that I was a little confused on was Dwayne Wade. His numbers are there, but again, I feel like Dwayne Wade in the All-Star game. I mean, I don't know. It's probably just because he's really popular with Miami Heat fans, popular with fans in general. It was good to see the Hawks getting some attention. Al Horford, Paul Millsap, Jeff Teague. Desmond Palmer, who has been on this show, was probably furious that Kyle Korver was not selected, and I think I was too. Do you think Kyle Korver deserves a spot?
I think arguably he does. One thing to keep in mind in all this is that Dwayne Wade is out 2 to 3 weeks with a hamstring strain, and so it's possible that he won't be able to go in the All-Star game, which means that I think maybe Kyle Korver could get that reserve spot. We'll see. The only thing I'll say is this: is that the Atlanta Hawks got 3 representatives in the All-Star game, and that's really, really good for them. I mean, for any team to get 3 reps in the All-Star game is a really good thing. And so I feel like that while Kyle Korver certainly deserves an All-Star bid, and that you could argue a case for it, and I would be all for it. I don't think the Atlanta Hawks should really feel like they're being underrepresented here. They got 3 of their guys in there. And in terms of the Atlanta Hawks players, I wouldn't say that, Kyle Korver has been more important to the success of the Hawks than Teague, Horford, or Millsap. So given the fact that the Atlanta Hawks are so strongly represented in this All-Star game, I'm not furious about that absence of Kyle Korver, but I definitely can see why he should be there. So.
Yeah, and representing is a good way to put it because if I'm correct, Kyle Korver is in the three-point shootout, which that's hands down. So that's four Atlanta Hawks members, and I'm pretty sure their coach, Mike, I'm going to butcher his last name, is the Eastern Conference head coach.
He is.
Yeah, so I wasn't too sure if I was correct on that. And we're going to move on to our next topic here. Really, we could talk about the West as well. I mean, I said, well, there's the Eastern Conference. I'm sorry. LaMarcus Aldridge, is he going to be healthy for the Western Conference? And I like how you were saying your thoughts about Tim Duncan. You know, Tim Duncan's numbers are there for his age. You can't argue that. But, yeah, I understand that. I remember a few years back, though, Kevin Garnett literally played 5 minutes in the NBA All Star game because he wanted these young guys to play. But, yeah, I think the Tim Duncan pick, that was a little we'll have to see. I can be a little bit biased and say that Goran Dragic should have made it, but I was actually talking to one of my buddies, and he said that definitely last year should have been Goran Dragic's year to make it. This year it is a little bit different. I can't argue that. But somebody from the Phoenix Suns should be going to All-Star Weekend because of this reason. Alex Len wasn't and isn't going to be in the rookie-sophomore game, which I was surprised about. So, again, the Phoenix Suns completely getting snubbed. Damian Lillard clearly snubbed, and that's ridiculous. But that brings me right into it. Damian Lillard, Kyle Korver, Goran Dragic, Eric Bledsoe, Marcin Gortat. You said Monte Ellis. Those are just a few All-Star snubs. Is there anybody else on your list, Ben, that you can think got snubbed?
I think that pretty much. I think he pretty much sums it up. I mean, here's what's tough, in particular with the Western Conference, is like, to me, the Eastern. There's so many guys who in the Western Conference who got snubbed who would make it if they're in the Eastern Conference, like guys like Goran Dragic, those guys would totally be there.
Mm-hmm.
And so what's tough is that
starter if you were in the East.
Yeah, and so that's what's tough is that the Western Conference is just so deep. I think especially at the backcourt position, there's so many good point guards in the Western Conference and so many guys that can play the backcourt that, I mean, you could argue a case for Eric Bledsoe. You could argue a case for Jamal Crawford for the Clippers.
Oh, yeah. I didn't think about Jamal Crawford.
Jamal Crawford, I mean, there's a guy, and Brandon Jennings tweeted out, I think it was today, he tweeted out that, how crazy he thought it was that Monte Ellis and Jamal Crawford have never been All-Stars.
Right.
And so, I mean, I guess the reason why I said Monte Ellis is, while I say that the All-Star Award should be about the best players this season and not about lifetime achievement, I think Monte Ellis, you can argue for both cases in the sense that, look, the guy's never been an All-Star before. He's playing up to an All-Star level right now, or arguably so. And, I mean, at some point, guys like that have been playing at All-Star levels for several seasons and haven't gotten the honor yet, I think deserve a shot. And so in the case of Lillard is still young. He's going to be in 7 more All-Star games.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Whereas Monte Ellis, it's I don't know how many more good years.
He's kind of getting up there. He
is. And so the fact that he's never been an All-Star, I think, is really a shame. And so this was kind of a year where his numbers are pretty comparable to Lillard's. He's on a team that's almost as competitive. The Dallas Mavericks are a very competitive team. So I would have really liked to have seen Ellis, but the unfortunate thing is that you can't get everybody in the game. You can't get everybody there, and there's so many good choices to pick from. So it's just tough.
And we could probably make a full video about fan voting, and I think this was the coach's decision. I think it is every year. For Monte Ellis's defense, he is truly a success story. Because if I remember correctly, he came out of the NBA D-League and came out of nowhere, exploded onto the scene. And I like Monte Ellis. He's a really good player. We talked about it, I think, last week, a few weeks ago, is DeAndre Jordan. Where's DeAndre Jordan? I like DeAndre Jordan.
Yeah.
That's just me, though. I'm just a fan of the guy. And I don't know. This fan voting is tough because, maybe that's why Tim Duncan's in the All-Star game. That's why Dwayne Wade is in the All-Star game. But as you said, Dwayne Wade could be replaced, which would be really interesting. But Damian Lillard, here's the thing with Damian Lillard, is last year he was in all 4 events, and he's not in any this year. So I think that's ridiculous. So moving on to our next topic is a topic that I like to discuss, and this is a topic that Ben Parker brought up to us. Can the Phoenix Suns and the Charlotte Hornets hang on to the 8th spot and make it into the NBA playoffs? Here's a couple stats for you, Ben. The Phoenix Suns are 27-20. That is their home record. They are 6-4 in their last 10. The Suns actually play the Bulls tonight. And the Charlotte Hornets are 19-27, but they're 7-3 in their last 10. Now, Charlotte Hornets, they're a team that I'm honestly kind of disappointed in this year. I feel like they are stacked. I know that Kemba Walker is hurt, but that team is just so stacked in my opinion. They're so young, they're so talented, very similar to my Phoenix Suns, and they're not really winning in a bad Eastern Conference. So, Ben, what are your thoughts about this? You can start with either team or both. What do you think?
I think that odds are good that both teams hang on to the East. They both hang on to the 8th spot. I think both ultimately will. Obviously, for Charlotte, the loss of Kemba Walker is huge. He's out for 6 weeks, and so that could theoretically knock them out of it. But the only team that I really felt was really threatening them was the Detroit Pistons, and the Pistons just lost Brandon Jennings for the season.
Yeah.
So I think the Pistons are out of it. Boston is floundering. Indiana's not going to get there. I think
I'm not worried about Boston or Indiana.
Brooklyn's the team that's right behind the Hornets. So yeah. I don't think Brooklyn's going to get there because Brooklyn's talking about maybe firing Lionel Hollins and getting rid of Darren Williams. So the Nets are a mess. So I think the Hornets will be fine. Kemba should be back in time for the last month of the season.
Which might work. He might come back like ready to go and boom, dominate it.
Yeah. So, I mean, and they'll still have an opportunity to maybe even – I mean, actually, if anything, the Miami Heat have to be a little bit concerned here just because Dwayne Wade's out for 2 to 3 weeks. And so I think it's possible that the Miami Heat miss the playoffs. I think they'll get in, but let's not act as if it's like, okay, seeds 1 through 7 in the East are locked. They're not. Charlotte could easily jump to 7, possibly even 6. And Miami could be on the outside looking in, although I do not think that'll happen. As for the Phoenix Suns, I did an article on my blog this week breaking down the chances of who was going to get the 8th spot in the West. And the 3 teams really that are in the Western Conference, seeds 1 through 7 are pretty much locked up. There'll be some they're jockeying for positioning there, but those 7 teams are all going to be there. It's only the 8th spot in the West is up for grabs. And the 3 teams that are duking out for it are Phoenix, New Orleans, and OKC. And I basically handicapped Phoenix's odds at 53% to hang on to the Western Conference seed. I gave OKC 30%, and I think I gave New Orleans 12%, or whatever the remaining percentages is. So, I mean, like, I think OKC was like 35%. But at any rate, like, the way I sort of looked at it was what's huge is that for both OKC and for Phoenix, there's a fair amount of games left that they have at home. But Phoenix gets to face off against OKC and New Orleans 4 more times the rest of the season.
That's gonna be so fun.
And three of those 4 games are going to be in Phoenix. So that's huge for the Suns. So the next 2 times they face the Thunder, both are going to be in Phoenix. They'll have to make 1 trip to New Orleans. So I think that really bodes well in their favor. And so I think both Phoenix and Charlotte will both hang on to both make it. But if I had to say which of the 2 teams is more likely to miss it, I would have to say Phoenix only because of the fact that you can't rule out Durant and Westbrook and what that team can do. But, the schedule for, Phoenix is tough, but I do like the fact that they get 4 cracks at it against New Orleans and OKC, 3 of those games being at home. And then New Orleans, I believe, has 2 – New Orleans – and here's what's huge in this too is New Orleans and OKC have 2 games coming up. I think it's next week. The week after. They face twice within a span of like 2 or 3 days, 1 at home, 1 away. And so for Phoenix, they got to really hope, in my opinion at least, that New Orleans can beat OKC twice because that's also huge. So there's still plenty of basketball to play, but at the moment, I got to say Phoenix hangs in there. I got to give them 53% odds to get that spot and hang on.
Ben Parker coming with the stats and facts. For the East, as I said, I'm not worried about Boston or Indiana. Indiana, obviously, struggling because of injuries. They'll be back in the playoffs eventually. This is really about the West. It truly is. Charlotte, if anything, they'll hang on. They'll be fine. Okay, here's the thing with Phoenix. And I know I live in Phoenix, huge Phoenix Suns fan and all, is our home record. I made a video about it actually just yesterday about mainly our home record, our season thus far. It's like a mid-season report video. Our home record as right now is 14-9. There's been games where we've literally blown, and lost to bad teams. I remember a game against the Orlando Magic that we completely blew. And that's the thing is, last season our home record was good. Our road record was eh. Most of this season has been on the road. That's why the Phoenix Suns these last 7 games have been at home in a row, and we've been loving it, man. We have been loving this homestand that we've had. And I agree with you on the fact of, first off, Oklahoma City's chances, I think you said about 35%.
Yeah.
And clearly you cannot take out Westbrook and Durant. I look at it due to the past, because this team, I want to say ever since 2011, has been in the NBA playoffs. I think in 2011 they made the NBA Finals. So all that experience in Phoenix, being out of the playoffs for 4 years in a row now, that's the only thing I think would get them out of it is OKC's experience. OKC's really having a struggling season, though, due to injuries and just trying to survive the tough Western Conference. But again, I can't really snub out the Pelicans either. Pelicans are sort of a team I'm a little disappointed in. I mean, we could probably make a whole video on disappointing teams this season, and the Pelicans would be up there along with the Hornets. The Pelicans are really talented, and they are creeping up there. I think they're literally tied with OKC right now. I think they probably have the same record at 23-23. And, it's going to be interesting, though. This Phoenix team, though, man, I'm telling you, our potential is so scary. It's fun to watch. This team is so fun to watch. The only thing with Phoenix is we don't really have a killer instinct like OKC does. Because, again, we let bad teams back into the game. So those are my initial thoughts on it. Ben, I like to throw curveballs on this show. I guess this week's curveball, because we've been talking about it all video, is what's a disappointing team for you this season? I've already mentioned 2 teams that I was disappointed in. Do you have a disappointing team? Like you were like, I was really looking forward to that team being good, and they're not.
Yeah, I mean, I guess my disappointing team. Well, Charlotte is my disappointing team. I really thought they were going to be much, much better than what they were. Mm-hmm. But that being stated, they've started to kind of pick up the steam a little bit and heat up a little bit.
7-3 in their last 10.
Yeah, so I mean, they've been disappointing so far. But if they were to, somehow, not just get the playoffs, but they were to become like a 5th or 6th seed in the East, they would no longer be a disappointing team. I would have to say that maybe at this point, Chicago Bulls are a disappointing team in the sense that looking at the Eastern Conference and how wide open it's been, one would have to think that the Bulls, with their talent on that roster, would be, maybe not where the Hawks are at, because the Hawks are just soaring at another level, but certainly being, 2nd or 3rd seed. I think right now Chicago, I think, is 6th in the East right now. Could be wrong. I think they're 6th. Yeah, they're 6th. So, I mean, Chicago's a team that really should be 2nd or 3rd right now. And so I think that's a team that's a disappointment. And everybody keeps talking about the Chicago Bulls like they're going to just automatically get to the Eastern Conference Finals, like it's a foregone conclusion. And it's just not the case. And I understand that there's been injury concerns, but that has to factor into your disappointing, how you measure disappointment. They haven't been able to stay healthy. And, particularly with the way that Pau Gasol has played so well for them, it's kind of crazy that they haven't, been ranked higher. And I heard this last night on NBA on TNT with the guys on Inside the NBA that the Chicago Bulls right now are ranked 15th in the NBA in defense, which is insane given how much of a defensive team they've been. Previously, they hadn't been ranked any lower than 3rd, but this year they're 15th in the NBA in defense. So the Chicago Bulls team, not the same team they've been before. They're not defending the way that they were. And, there's reports of Tom Thibodeau maybe losing the trust of his team. So I think the Chicago Bulls you have to put there in the mix of disappointing teams.
Yeah, that was really good and really well said. It's crazy, though, that's the fact that they're 15th in defense, because this is a team that preaches defense. And for the record, I'm so glad Pau Gasol is having the success he's having. You can tell he's having fun out there. And that was a touching moment last night when LA paid tribute to him. And that was a nice game, by the way, Lakers versus Bulls. Yeah, guys, that is our show this week. This has been NBA Weekly Chat number 4. I guess you could say the NBA All Star Edition. It's been fun, Ben. Thanks so much for being on the show, man. I appreciate it.
No problem. Glad to be here.
I will leave a link to Ben's blogs and articles and Twitter all down below, and you can follow me on Twitter and check out all my videos. I upload Phoenix Suns videos, and we will be back next week for NBA Weekly Chat number 5. My name is Brandon Condron. Ben Parker, thanks so much for watching, guys.